years now that China is cheating, that they've rigged the system, broken the rules, stolen their way to prosperity. You'll hear terms like forced technology transfers, intellectual property theft, state subsidies, dumping, currency manipulation, and yes, these are serious issues. But if we really want to understand what happened over the last 30 years, why America lost millions of good-paying jobs, why our infrastructure is collapsing, why theirs is rising, why China now leads the world in manufacturing EVs and high-speed rail, we need to look past the slogans and ask the uncomfortable question, is China really cheating, or did our own elites simply sell us out? For years, foreign companies wanting to access to the Chinese market had to partner with Chinese firms and share their proprietary technology. That's called a forced technology transfer. Critics say this gave China an unfair advantage, but let's be honest, no one was forced. Western firms wanted a slice of the biggest market on Earth. They willingly traded tech for profits, and China said, we'll let you in, but you have to teach us how to build. And we said, yes, over and over and over again, because our CEOs weren't thinking 20 years ahead. They were thinking about their next quarterly earnings call. Yes, there's IP theft, there's hacking, there's state support, but let's not pretend we're innocent. The U.S. runs its own espionage operations. We've interfered in governments around the world, and when it comes to subsidies, the U.S. subsidizes agriculture, defense, oil and gas, Wall Street bailouts, and now tech firms under the CHIPS Act. We don't admit it. China does it openly because their system, the economy serves the nation. In our system, the economy serves shareholders. Currency manipulation. Well, that was true 20 years ago, but not anymore. China's actually spent the last decade propping up its currency to maintain stability. And non-tariff barriers, yes, China plays protectionist games, but so does everyone else, including us. We ban chip sales, restrict Huawei, embargo countries, and rewrite financial regulations to serve American interests. The reality is this. China didn't steal our prosperity, our own elites gave it away. They pushed for China's entry into the WTO, they offshored factories, dismantled unions, and told American workers to learn to code. The steel towns collapsed, the textile mills vanished, the auto parts industry got hollowed out, but the Dow Jones hit record highs, and that's all that mattered. And what did China do with its surplus? It didn't hand out stock buybacks, it didn't pump the money into speculative finance, it built high-speed rail, smart cities, new energy grids, entire industries from scratch. And what did we do? Well, we built financial bubbles, we gutted public schools, we defunded infrastructure, we gave tax cuts to the ultra-wealthy and told everyone else to tighten their belts. And now we think tariffs are going to fix this? Tariffs are like putting duct tape on a collapsing bridge. They raise prices, disrupt supply chains, and they invite retaliation. They don't build new factories, they don't create a workforce, they don't fix our broken system. At best, they're a pause button. But we don't need a pause, we need a reset. The only way forward is to rebuild this country from the ground up. That means a national industrial policy, one that actually names strategic sectors and invests in them long term. That means infrastructure on the scale of the New Deal, not pothole patchwork. It means vocational training, apprenticeships, and skilled labor being treated with the respect it deserves. It means breaking up the monopolies, punishing offshoring, banning stock buybacks, and rewarding companies that build here, hire here, and stay here. But instead of doing that, instead of focusing on America, what are we doing? We're talking about war with Iran. We're dropping bombs on Yemen. We're spending billions, waging proxy wars on behalf of a foreign government while our own cities look like war zones. We're pushing endless military aid packages, inflaming global tensions, and marching toward another conflict that has nothing to do with the American people and everything to do with the interests of defense contractors and their lobbyists. And when we're not trying to start a war, we're fantasizing about expanding our empire, making Canada a U.S. state, buying Greenland, stationing troops in every continent, guarding pipelines and mineral routes while our own border is a disaster and our veterans sleep in tents. This isn't America first. This is empire first, globalism first, elites first. If we really believed in putting America first, we wouldn't be policing the world. We'd be rebuilding our country. We'd have the best rail in the world, the cleanest water, the strongest power grid, the most resilient supply chains, the best educated workforce, the most secure borders. But we don't, because our leaders aren't interested in America as a nation. They're interested in America as an empire, a brand, a vehicle for wealth extraction. And that's the greatest betrayal of all. Because China is playing for China, acting in its own self-interest. Our ruling class is acting in their interest, not yours, not mine, not the country's. So no, the real problem isn't that China is cheating. The real problem is we've been lied to by the people who sold us a dream they never believed in, who hollowed out our middle class, who told us it was normal to work 3 jobs and still be broke, who mocked the idea of rebuilding this country while cashing checks from companies that sent your job to another continent. They handed China the blueprints, they signed the deals, they wrote the trade laws, and now they want to blame the people who took advantage of the opportunity they created? No, that's not cheating, that's smart. Ruthless, yes. Strategic, absolutely. But we should be taking notes, not throwing tantrums. If we want to win again, we don't need more sanctions. We need more engineers. We don't need more aircraft carriers. We need more factories. We don't need another $1 trillion war. We need a $1 trillion investment in America, in workers, in cities, in families, in sovereignty. You want America to be great again? Then build. Stop chasing wars. Stop chasing distractions. Stop chasing empire. Bring it home. And start again. That's the real America first, and it's the only way forward.
The Prime Minister of Singapore has a chilling warning for the world. Here's a clip.
But the recent Liberation Day announcement by the US leaves no room for doubt. It marks a seismic change in the global order. The era of rules-based globalization and free trade is over. We are entering a new phase, one that is more arbitrary, protectionist, and dangerous.
Prime Minister then goes on to say that the last time there was a major global trade war, it was the 1930s, and it led to the Great Depression in the United States. And even in the 1930s, the global economy was so intertwined with the United States economy that it also, the Great Depression in the US, led to a global depression worldwide. This global depression in the 30s would, of course, give rise to fascism in Europe that would culminate into Nazism, and then it would escalate into the biggest global conflict humanity has ever seen, also known as World War II. Now, one of the most sensible world leaders in the entire world is warning that the world is barreling towards that same scenario once again.
Time where you start to worry about China, China goes better.
And you wind up with a bubble, bad things will happen.
I think that you American people worry too much about the China economy. Every time where you start to worry about China, China goes better. You American love to spend tomorrow's money and the other people's money maybe. We Chinese love to save money. We are probably the largest country, the safe deposit in the whole world, because we've been poor for so many years. When we need money, we put in the banks, because someday we know the disaster is coming, so we can spend the money. So when the economy is bad, we still have the money to spend. You guys probably don't. You worry.
Did I not tell y'all that things were about to be exposed in the U.S.? Do not play with China. China works with this. Things are being uncovered. There will be whistleblowers, and China is revealing to us right now everything that America has done. Take a look at this.
Americans, you don't need a tariff. You need a revolution. For decades, your government and oligarchs will ship your job to China. Not for diplomacy, not for peace, but to exploit cheap labors. And in the process, they hollowed out your middle class, crushed your working class, and told you to be proud while they sold your future for profit. And yes, China made money, but we used it to build roads, leave millions out of poverty, fund healthcare, raise living standard. We reinvested in our people. What did your oligarchs do? They build yachts, private jets, mansions with golf course driveways. They manipulate the market, dodge tax, and pour billions into endless wars. And you get stagnant wages, crippling healthcare costs, cheap dopamine, debt, and flag wave probably made in China while they pick your pocket. I don't think you need another tariff. You need to wake up. You need to take a country back. I think you need a revolution.
I ain't gonna lie. I'm Team China right now. I am Team China. Bring it. Keep showing. Keep lifting the covers. Keep. I'm here for it. Thank you, China.
Without United States, you have nothing, China. Yes, MAGA, we don't have child labor, school shooting, homeless problem, genocide, oligarchy, monopoly, crazy expensive yet inefficient healthcare system, heavy tax on working class, property tax every year, anti-Semitism awareness law, supremacy bubble you live in, built by multi-billion-dollar worth propaganda, fake free speech, fake democracy. Yeah, you guys got it all. Also, we don't have MAGA.
So to add on what she has said literally everything. Who are to be blamed? America needs to look inwards. It needs to look at where it went wrong. It needs to look at how they can correct that mistake, how they can move forward, develop the country, infrastructure, add skills to people, and of course, they need to invest trillions and trillions of dollars in America. Not outside America, but in America. That's the only way America is going to move forward. That's the only way America is going to develop. That's the only way America is going to have infrastructure and grow and advance, so that they'll be moving forward like the way China has done. China is literally living in the year 2077, because if you look at whatever they have, the types of infrastructure they have, in China, the type of technology they have in China, the electric vehicles they have in China, because of the sanctions that they have been given by America, it has pushed China to develop very, very fast. It has pushed China to become self-sufficient, to depend on itself, to have system in its place that in case of anything that can happen around the world, they'll be able to survive. And that's the reason why China has moved so fast in terms of development, in terms of infrastructure, in terms of having manpower, in terms of having skills. That is the main reason. And you can look at right now, the way now America policy, where I say America first, make America great again. But the reality is right now with the trade, the world is so interconnected. If you affect one side of the supply chain, it's gonna break down the whole supply chain around the world, and that is the reality. Because materials are being sourced from different parts of the world. One part of the world you can source a material, and then you export them to another country where they're going to be made, and then you export them to another country where they're being sold. So it's the global trade is interconnected worldwide. So with the way things are going, with the tariffs which have been imposed, we are going to see, as time goes by, businesses being affected. We are going to see prices going up. We are going to see people losing out on businesses, or they not be able to afford certain products, or they may not be able, you're going to the supermarket and you're not going to find your favorite brand because it's no longer being available, or it's no longer being exported or imported, or they can no longer afford it because of the high tariffs. As a result of that, because global trade is interconnected, it's like now when you do a trade, it's like you are operating a global village, and that is the reality. So is there going to be a win-win situation? Only time will tell. Is there going to be some losses here and there? Yes, people have already experienced losses. Yes, people are already feeling the pinch. Yes, we look at the Wall Street stock market, we are seeing shares are tanking left, right and center. We are seeing so many people and corporations are losing a lot of money because of this trade tariffs, and all this has happened because 30 years, 40 years down the line, America decided to move their factories from America and invest them in China. Why? Because China was having the manpower to have, and as a result, they had cheap labor. And Americans companies were thinking of profits in the long run, while China was thinking of, yes, they want to make profit, but at the same time they wanted to learn the skills, technology, so that they can develop the country, China. And they used that the profit which they got from American factories, they used it to develop their country infrastructures, developing their country food system, develop their country technology system, infrastructure in terms of electricity vehicles, in terms of flying cars, in terms of systems where they can have robots, doing their daily activities, and many others advancements which they have made. They have literally used the money to move their population from poverty to now having billionaires, millionaires, and of course the biggest middle class across the world. And that is the reality. While America, for the last 40-50 years down the line, they have literally invested in wars around the world, in sanctions around the world, in terms of becoming the global police around the world, and neglected to develop infrastructure in their own country, neglected to look at the factories in their own country. And now, as a result, we are seeing the repercussions, and people are suffering. You're having a healthcare system in America that is very expensive, that people cannot afford if you don't have a normal job. You're having food, grocery prices which are very expensive because people cannot afford it if you don't have a job. And you're having GMO foods. People cannot afford organic foods because of that. You're having so many mortgages which are very expensive, that if you not be able having a job, you'll not be able to afford mortgages in America. And the list is endless. And right now people are feeling it, and they're complaining, and they're wondering how they can achieve the American dream, because right now it's like having 2-3 jobs is the way to go. And people are saying, I'm just living paycheck to paycheck. I just cannot afford just normal life in America because it's very, very expensive. People are crying, others are having despair, others are having depression, because life is very expensive in America. And that is the reality. So what's gonna change? Only time will tell, unless the people, the politicians, and the system change and come up with systems where they're going to take care of the people and introduce factories back to America and introduce skills that are going to help the people to develop. Then the country will have repercussions that is gonna felt by future generation the next 100 years down the line. Only time will tell whether these tariffs are going to help the country or not. All right, guys, let me know what you thought. All right.